Do you think it might be to throw us off the trail of the technology that maybe that group had before our current civilization? Because
Can you say that again?
one reason I'd want to erase giants from the public like memory is if those giants had tech that I would like to monopolize and just have
Mm.
for myself. You know what I mean? Could it
Well,
be to just throw us off the
again,
trail of that? Because we're not going to go look for it if we don't think they existed.
yeah, I mean, it's all guesswork because we don't know if
Yeah.
they had technology, and we don't know what they were. I mean, there's a lot of suspicion, I suppose you could say, and a lot of suggestive evidence towards the use of sound and acoustics and strange technologies that leveraged acoustics in ways that allowed stones to be moved easier, or perhaps even to soften them down a little bit. And there could be these elements. This is very interesting, when you go out into places like Nepal and Tibet, and you speak to these like monks and Buddhists who have these incredible histories of using the Tibetan horns, these gigantic Tibetan horns that are like this of a room. And there's some stories about, very secretive monasteries out in the high mountains that are able to levitate stones through specifically arranging all of these monks in geometries with the correct tools and the correct instruments. And I think that there's definitely a sound science that's been kept within certain theological traditions quite quietly, that's been picked up on. I mean, you see it very clearly once you understand cymatic geometry, the geometry of sound, the geometric patterns that are created by different frequencies of acoustics. Because once you start looking at those different patterns that get created by acoustic vibration, you start seeing them in churches and temples and cathedrals all over the world. The stained glass windows, the geometry of the actual structure itself is a cymatic geometry. It's a language of sound, which would tell us what? That perhaps this is a language of spirit, that the real language of spirit is through sound and vibration. Well, what did Tesla say? He said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of energy and vibration and frequency. And I think this is something that was tapped into by our ancestors intuitively, and that led them to very radical ideas and abilities to actually kind of bring things into reality that we can't understand right now, because even at our extremely advanced levels of science, we're on the bleeding edges of things like quantum mechanics and quantum biophysics, and it's in those arenas, right on the edge of development, that we're going, oh, it's actually very similar to what the mystics and the Sufis and the High Lamas have been saying for thousands of years. So it feels like we're on what Terence McKenna would call the archaic revival, kind of bringing back a lot of this ancient knowledge through the lens of modern science. And I think there's a lot of lost science and missed corridors of science that we haven't gone down in our time that have been explored in previous times.